The amount of interesting high-tech manufacturing that we have in Australia is just growing and growing, and there's so many amazing businesses like yours. Collaboration is the big key, I think, and it's communication. Coming into here and you showing us the whole process is just phenomenal for us, because we can understand the process, go back and redesign something with that in mind. You can have a deeper conversation about doing more innovative stuff. Where are my decals?
Gavin Parker, the Managing Director of Sun Industries. It's an industrial printing business based here in Osborne Park.
Gavin's business is the only outsourced business that we're using for the Cranio product.
There's a full range of decals and graphic fascias and overlays that we're doing for it, and some of them are a branding solution. Others are a bit more of a interface solution, letting the customer know what is going on inside that box.
We've made these things for however many years, and
74 now.
74 years.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
A lot of the use cases for these particular labels will be underneath a solar panel out in the desert, trying to do unique sensing and actuation. Longevity for at least 5 to 10 years.
Sure. The polycarbonate in your instance was specified because of its UV stability. Because if you get the wrong base material, the wrong polycarbonate, the wrong polyester, the wrong adhesives, then you can have a breakdown very quickly on that. It's gone through the specification process with you, got the materials and everything else right. The next part is to make sure that we're going to get the job correct graphically and mechanically for you as well too. We run that through Illustrator, we've got a pre-flight tool, we get all the layers, our CMYK colours.
We originally sent through some DXFs and some specific colours and things like that.
We can work with DXF files, we work with PDF files, work with Illustrator files. We can work from raw samples, and we will start a mechanical from scratch if we need to. We can reverse.
Sketch.
Literally. We've done lots of napkin sketches in here. Here we are at the beginning of the production job. So once the job's been approved and we get it ready to fly, you see the wall of raw materials over there. We get the raw materials and they come down onto this guillotine, which is actually from 1954.
Nice.
And gets used every single day.
Looks sturdy.
It's our stock sheeting machine, and it's worked an absolute treat for us for years and years and years.
This machine's done a lot of cuts over the years.
This machine has done, I would suggest it's done millions of cuts at the end of the day. We're going to cut the raw material. It's now waiting for the screen printing process, and screen printing is as old school as it sounds, where you get a good quality silkscreen mesh. We expose a film onto that, and that's what this room is in here. This is a vacuum frame that we will put the screen onto, put the film onto that with what's called an emulsion, which is effectively a goo, and then this is a very bright light. That will actually go and bake the emulsion onto the screen. What it does is it creates a very high quality image with perfectly straight lines. Your typical printing might have some sort of sawtooth in it or some sort of variations. This will give an absolutely perfectly dead straight line and no holes.
So these are some of the screens?
Yeah, these are the screens here. That image that's there, the ink will actually get pushed through that during the screen printing process, and that's what gives it the accuracy. It goes from there. Once we've finished with that, we go through a wash-up process where we reclaim it to make it go blank, and then we start all over again.
And you make these here?
This is where we do the silkscreen process. It's actually an exceptionally efficient process with high volume work. We can sheet and then sheet and then sheet. It's much quicker than our digital processes, and it will allow us to print at a very high quality as well too, because we're putting what's called a spot colour, which is an individually custom mixed colour through that screen.
So what would a production run look like on this machine usually?
How many sheets? We might do 200 or 300 sheets of, say, 4 colours. So that's going to be 800 to 1,000 passes of that print as it actually runs through. The squeegees wear down over time. You can get screen stretched with the silk screen. The ink can change depending on the environment, humidity, temperature, things like that. So it's constant checking, and if you watch these guys doing their work, their attention span during the day is exceptional. This is where we're going down the technology pathway, where we're upgrading. We've got our guillotine from 1954. We've got a brand new Canon Arizona from 2024 that prints at probably the highest quality digitally of any machine on the market. We can print at photographic quality on this with very, very fine detail. What we do a lot of the time is create those hybrid jobs that I mentioned to you.
Yep.
So we will digitally print components on here.
Yep.
And then we'll go and screen print as well too.
Yep.
Just to make sure we get those really nice solid colours that come through for it as well too.
So that's the same thing with our decals, the ones that had the digital data.
Yes, they'll come here, they'll go and get their variable data printed down, and then they go over for the screen printing process as a solvent-based ink that actually chemically etches into the substrate to make sure that there's no chance of it delaminating over time.
So moulding the old technology with new to give the best outcome.
Absolutely, yeah. Now need to encapsulate that decal with some adhesive, okay? One of the most valuable parts of what we do with your decals is it's what's called a subsurface print. So you've got your clear polycarbonate, and by us printing underneath, it means that our ink's incredibly durable. You can't get to it, you can't scratch it off, it's not going to peel off over time, it's not going to flake, things like that. And then by encapsulating and laminating a very good quality adhesive behind it, right, that turns it into a full decal. If it's not that right adhesive, then it can peel off over time very easily.
So that's where you were asking us about the different materials that these things are going to go onto. So understanding if it's anodized aluminium, which some of our pieces go onto. We've got some injection molded plastics, which are internal. And we've got a CNC machine C-tool plastic, so the top hat, which is a low surface adhesion.
There's a big price difference for a start for clients. So if we over specify and quote 300 LSE, which is one of the top range adhesives, we specify 300 LSE for every job. We're actually over quoting, and we're over specifying when you don't need to spend that much money. But if we go with a cheaper industry standard 467 adhesive, that's going to work for 80% of the solutions.
So having a in-person, preferably in-person conversation about what the actual use case is going to change the outcome. First of all for the setup of the job, but also then the longevity of the, the product.
Once the printed sheet gets the adhesive laminated onto it, it goes through into the finishing process. And this is a clamshell press. Opens and closes, open and closes. It's exceptionally efficient. It's an old school technology, but once it's set up properly and we're doing high volumes, there's not too much equipment in the market that can actually cut as fast as this does at the end of the day. And so then it's just a human processing piece. The other part with it's exceptionally accurate as well too.
So you're getting your edges exactly right every time.
That's right, and we're using a knife die blade here, and that knife die blade is consistent all the time, and it will just cut and then cut and then cut. We've got knife dies here that we've had for 20 years and are still completely usable all the way through.
Someone actually physically makes this and then they embed these knives, razor sharp knives, directly into the right spot. So within 0.2 of a millimetre tolerance.
And we give them 0.1 of a mil because we need to.
And we had one small thing we had to work together on, which was one of the holes we'd specified was round, but it had a flat in it for our antennas. That was too hard to create this knife die.
Correct. That blade has to be able to fold around a certain radius, and then to get that to square off for that smaller diameter shape just wasn't feasible. So you can get different size punches, then you get delivery issues around the punches.
We then were able to have the conversation where we basically said that's actually not an issue for us. That flat is actually in the design of the top hat to orientate the antenna, but it doesn't really matter for the decal because there's actually a washer there. You've decreased basically the cost to us by decreasing the complexity of the die, which we didn't need anyway. Which is a conversation we had. I just literally came down here yesterday on my way home from work. We had a quick 5-minute conversation. It was a non-issue, and it's done.
That's right.
And that's the advantage of having someone locally who can.
That's right. And we can be that flexible generally all the time.
And we just basically do another setup and run again.
Absolutely.
So these are your laser cutters?
We'll use the lasers for a myriad of different tasks, from laser cutting thick bits of acrylic to prototyping for clients to etching variable data onto metal.
And what was the reason why we didn't use it on our Cranio stickers?
Because we wanted to go down the polycarbonate pathway. Okay, and polycarbonate doesn't like getting laser cut. It will cut it, but it goes brown, burns all around the edges. Laser cutting isn't as efficient as platen cutting. Okay, so from a cost perspective, long term, you pay for that knife die. Your cost saving comes in with every repeat order now because we're not charging you as much per unit to factor in the laser cutting time.
Fair enough.
Laser cutting works very well with short run jobs when a client might only want 20 decals or 50 decals as they're prototyping and getting ready for a production launch. But then once they get up to 500, 1,000 units, etc., it's always going to be more efficient to move across to the platen process.
Horses for courses. Oh, they look good.
This is the last stage of the job's coming through. That last point of quality control and making sure the job's absolutely perfect is critical. We've got very strict protocols with our quality controls, with our ISO 9000 standards. Once we print your 200 decals, 100 decals of each, there will always be overs. So you might end up with, we might print 140 or 150 decals to get to your 100. We might lose 10 or 20 of them. You'll still have 30 of them. Okay. Next time you come around for that repeat order, and if you're in a bit of stress around timeframes, you need something very urgently, we've actually got capacity to get that straight off the shelf for you, get that to you while the job goes through production.
This is 100 of each decal or fascia. There's 4 of the 12 or 15 designs
more
finished.
to come.
Awesome. We saw some of these out here. They were the ones before that maybe were rejected before.
As much as we don't want any rejects in the business, being a printer and working with inks and colours, there's always going to be variations.
They look and feel the part, and the sheen is the right sheen that we wanted. Because if you're going to be out in the sunlight this way, or it's going to be underneath a solar panel. We didn't want it to be too shiny. This is quite small text, but we probably would change it next time. But that was on us.
Making the changes isn't a difficult process. Again, we've got all the step files. Or make any sort of adjustments like that is typically just an hour's worth of work just to update everything and then roll it back through.
This is a production run of 100 only. We're manufacturing those things in-house, or the housings. You gave us the price points. We looked at the numbers. Could have gone less, but it didn't make sense for the economies of scale. 100 is probably where we want to be able to sell, the first 50, 60, but have 30 of them in-house, going to trials in different places and just testing things as harshly as we can around the office.
That's great.
But then we're actually going to change the variable data so that it becomes much more highly variable. So these are sequential. First ones are 100 sequential. Then we're going to go to completely random numbers.
And that's absolutely fine. We reconcile during the QC process and make sure that everything's okay. We'll do the testing of the QR codes and whatnot as well too. And then it just goes through.
I'm looking forward to getting these on the piece. I am absolutely hating at the moment having nicely made devices with no decals on it. I'm hating it. So
we'll
putting these on there, it's going to be beautiful. The stigma around local manufacturing, that we don't do high-tech local manufacturing. We definitely do. And seeing your business, 74 years old, having the old processes well-defined, new processes that are being hybrid mixed in, choosing technologies which are specific to customer. These customers are big fish for you. And you want to get the next repeat order. There's absolutely no reason why we should be going to China and things like that.
It's just great to be able to support Australian manufacturers across whatever industry they want. I'm still very, very bullish about the market. I'm a very, very firm believer that Australian manufacturing is on the up.
Absolutely, In Australian manufacturing, we all have to be really good to each other, have a really high level of collaboration, because we know with all the innovation we've got and all the smart people we've got, we can be as cost effective as anyone else. We've got all those other things like increased quality, increased speed, or understanding the process so that we can get the next one even better.
I completely agree with that. And from what I see, I'm in quite a privileged position being able to be in a business that gets approached from so many other industries, being able to see what is happening across all of those industries. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be fantastic.